Okay, another Saturday. Been, spacing videos out a bit because I've been busy doing this and that. Today it got cold all of a sudden. So, and windy and drizzling and stuff. So, things I was going to do out in the field today, I'm not doing. So I thought I'd come in and make a video. So, as you can see, I got this shacket, right? So, this is good for a little bit of a nippy day, wind and drizzle and whatnot. So, thought I'd make some coffee and have a chit chat with you guys. So we'll talk a little bit about boots today, and we will talk a little bit about wool. So, in the last winter, I talked a bit about a new company. This fellow is doing things. He's trying to do things upright. He's trying to do things right. Let's just put it that way. He's had a bit of ups and downs. The company is called the Snail. All right. Now, I have a coat that's 90 years old. It's Woolrich. It's awesome. It's 5.5 pounds of heavy-duty wool made by Woolrich back when Woolrich was Woolrich, back when it was really a real wool company. Anyway, it does fit me. It could fit me a little bit better. It could fit me a little bit looser, but it's not tight, so it fits me comfortably. But I have been looking around and looking around for something new, and I just hadn't been able to find anything. Anyway, this young man, he's got this traditional wool coat called the Mammoth. He calls it the Mammoth. Maybe he calls it the Woolly Mammoth, right? I don't know. But anyway, the deal is it looks pretty good. And since I've watched a few of his videos in the past, I thought, well, maybe they'll send me one to have a look at, and I can compare it with my 90-year-old Woolrich. Just do a review on it, and see if it's really as up to snuff as the old school wool coats. Because, Filson, I just can't. When I look at Filson, I think, yeah, you're a shadow of your yesteryear's product. I looked at buying a vintage Filson at one time that I was just looking and looking and looking and looking and looking. People were smaller back then. They didn't eat as well as they do these days. People grow bigger in this modern era. They actually do. Even in Asia, the Japanese girls are developing earlier. They're, becoming fuller and so on. This world is just a world of bigger people because people eat better than they used to. Well, I shouldn't say they eat better, but they eat more. Sometimes they do eat better. I don't eat a ton of crap. I eat, things that are organic. I don't eat a lot of garbage, even though sometimes you're tempted to. I don't, I don't need that. Especially today, we got, Meat, you cannot trust the meat, USDA meat. You can't trust it. I don't trust anything that the USDA puts their stamp on. It's all, you know, organically grown. Um, anything that's meat is meat that's not been injected with anything. No antibiotics, no nothing. You know, I mean the wild meat is even better. The wilder you can get, the better. Stay away from that mRNA crap. But getting back to the coats and the boots, you know, the Iron Snail, last year they said that they would send me a 2026 Mammoth to look over and review. Uh, Whether that still holds true or not is not up to me. I mean, the fellow has had some rough times with some stuff. You know, I don't know how his financial situation is. I mean, he's just a small outfit trying to get going. I would encourage people to do business with him because he does have a good ethic. Um, so I can only surmise that his woolly mammoth coat or whatever it's called is good. I mean, it looks pretty good, but I would like to see one in person and evaluate it and hold it up next to my Woolrich 90-year-old coat, which is still in perfect condition. I still wear it in the winter. Keeps me perfectly warm. It's windproof. Um, but I would like to have something modern that's just as good as that old Woolrich, if I can. Now, I have considered, I have weighed so many things back and forth over a coat and whatnot. And you know the thing is that I've had a few close calls in life. You know, I mean you're not gonna live forever, right? Even in these past 2 or 3 years, you know, I've had a couple of things happen. And, you know, I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it much longer, but I'm still here. You know, my boots is another thing. Well, we'll talk about Limmer boots also. Limmer boots, right here in New England. It's a New Hampshire company, 1919 in Intervale, New Hampshire. We'll talk about that in a second too. But as soon as we get done talking about the wool stuff here, then we'll talk about the boots. I got a set of boots right there that the Limmer craftsmen have had their hands on. Some crud blowing around in the air right now. Keep up on your quercetin and vitamins and whatnot and your zinc, things like that. That drives everything out. You catch something from some little germ factory kid somewhere, you know, something gets transmitted around from one of the little germ factories running around, then that's what you do. You know, you don't go see the doctor. You take quercetin, okay, quercetin, zinc, vitamin D3, and vitamin C, a couple other things. I'll give you a little rundown of it on another video. Not a doctor, but it works. Knocks everything out. Convid, whatever you want to call it. You know, they developed that Convid superflu so that they could urge people to get their poison injections. Yeah, they did. I didn't get them. I didn't get one. Not even one. Yeah. I'm good. You know, back in the old days in the West, when they were wagon training to the West and farming and whatnot, and the ranchers and the cowboys, they thought that coffee was a cure-all. Really, what it was is they just boiled the water that they made the coffee in. Tastes good too. Yeah. But getting back to the iron snail, the guy's had a bit of a rough patch he's gone through uh, with wool. He had some asshat give him some issues over some wool. Um, he talks about it on a couple of his videos here. It's not too long ago. So, I don't know who the guy is, but he needs to pull his head out of his butt and give that guy his money back, the iron snail, because he proved the guy was full of crap. You know, he sent the wool off somewhere and had it tested, I think in Japan or something, of all places. You know, it came back, made the guy eat his words. But, you know, this guy with Iron Snail, I can't never remember his name. I'm terrible with names anymore. But anyway, the young fellow, he basically, he just didn't want to have anything more to do with him. He was tired of it. You know, the guy's not honest. You know, he's not an honest person, obviously. You know, just trying to take advantage, in other words. But anyway, I say support the Iron Snail. Guy's got a head on his shoulders. He's trying to do all the right moves to make his business a go. He's already made products. I saw what looked like a very nice sweater he was wearing that he had made. He's really just trying to bring back quality products for people to buy. Okay? He really is. I mean, and I take my hat off to him for that. He's trying to do something, and I think that the YouTube community, especially the outdoors community, should get behind his company a little bit and give him a nudge, and not just an attaboy, but maybe buy something from him. Even though some stuff is expensive, I'm not going to lie. Good stuff is always expensive. It's always expensive. Just remember those 3 words. Let's just say 5 words. Good stuff. It's always expensive. Okay? Just burn it into your memory. Good stuff. It's always expensive. Alright? I mean, he's not trying to, like, you know, I mean, when you're in business, yeah, the object is to make a living. You know, but a lot of the times, guys that are in business are also trying to keep the prices as low as they can and still be in business and still make a good life for themselves, because everybody deserves to be able to do that. Too many times I see people online talking about, you know, people who own companies are nothing but a bunch of greedy money grubbers. You know what? They don't say that when they've got the money. Okay? People that say those things, they don't say that sort of thing when they have money. Alright? I have had money and I have lost money. I have made lots of money and I have lost lots of money. This is life. You know, you go through cycles in life. I mean, I'm not destitute on the floor right now, but I'm not rich. I'm not. But I have lived outside twice. 2 times in my life I have lived outside. outside of any kind of gainful employment and whatnot. I had, went through some rough times a couple of times in my life. I had to live outside. I was young. But, my father, my dad, my old dad always taught me to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get moving. Because nobody's going to give you nothing. I mean, I'm trying to be nice when I say these things, right? So I have always worked hard. When I was young, I was nothing but a working machine. Work, 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 work. And I've been everywhere. I've had like 6 careers. I have done so many things that people will call me a liar if I told them all the different things that I did. But you know what? My life is not for everybody. Some people want to they want to go and sell shoes at the mall. That's their life's ambitions. Al Bundy, the shoe salesman. So, anyway, the Iron Snail. This fellow told me he would give me a mammoth jacket and a mammoth coat in 2026. I'm not gonna hold him to it. I know he's had some rough times. I said, hey, if you want to give me one of your mammoth coats, I'll review it and I will pass it around to some of the very, the very best people to make sure that it gets, I will pass the knowledge on to do business with you, that this is a fine product, whatnot. I will give an honest review. And I'm already sure. I'm already sure without even seeing the thing, it's going to be good. Okay, if he still sends me a coat, and I don't expect him to send me a coat. If he does send me a coat, it needs to be like a 54, right? Because I have a big chest, and I like a little room. The Woolrich that I have is a 52. It could be if it were a 54, it would be perfect. But my chest is 50. I used to have a body. I mean, women used to look at me when I was younger. They used to look at me. I'm not gonna kid. I used to have a good body on me, and I still have a pretty darn good physique when I take my shirt off and look at myself in the mirror in the bathroom in the daytime. When I get out of the shower, I check myself out. Yeah, you still going all right. I'm not young anymore either. I've still got a pretty good body for an old man. But yeah, size 52 to 54 in the chest. If the fellow from Iron Snail or his lovely young bride there, if they see me in this video and they contact me, I can give them whatever measurements that they want in particular. But like I said, I'm not going to hold you to it, man. I mean, you had some rough patches dealing with your business. I'm not going to hold you to that. I mean, heck. But let's go on to boots. And I see recently that this young fellow from the Iron Snail went to Limmer in Intervale. So I'm very familiar with Intervale. Yeah, I am. So, yeah, Limmer boots since 1919, right? This is Peter Limmer and Sons right here. So Adam at Limmer, he gave me both of these patches. He gave me another patch too with an Edelweiss flower. Okay, which is the Edelweiss flower is very popular in the European climbing community. Uh, it's a symbol for climbers and stuff. Climbing it. Climbing and the Edelweiss flower go hand in hand. I have an Edelweiss Stratos rope that I've had for like 30 years. I don't use it as a main lifeline any longer if I'm doing any kind of climbing around in trees or whatnot, because I do take care of the trees on my property here. You know, either trim them or cut them down if they're diseased or whatever. But my main lifeline is an Edelweiss. I've got Edelweiss ropes and Mammoth ropes and Blue Water. Those three ropes I got. And then I have another one. I think it might be a New England rope, but I can't remember. Sorry guys, it's that time of life. Right. So, moving on to boots. I highly recommend Limmer boots. I don't even own a pair. But, you know, park rangers swear by them. Limmer, Mr. Limmer, the original Mr. Limmer, was responsible for the first ski boot in the United States. That's right. He made the very first boots that were designed to work with skis. You know, because we had a lot of people